What happens when your digital twin becomes a better salesperson than you? In China, that's not hypothetical. It literally just happened. Chinese entrepreneur, I'm not sure how to say his name, Luo Yonghao. I don't know. Did I say that?
Sounds
You
great.
probably have.
Sounds perfect.
Okay.
I can't
Whew.
I can't tell you you're wrong, so it's gonna be right.
Okay. He just ran a 6-hour live stream on Baidu's e-commerce platform, and it wasn't actually him on camera. It was actually like a digital twin, his AI generated avatar. And then he was paired with a second digital co-host, and together they made $7 million in sales, which is crazy.
That sounds like a lot. 7,000,000. I'd like to make $7,000,000 in sales in a day. Is that in context of this individual and his sales? What is that a lot? Give me a little details on what happened and put that 7,000,000 in context for me.
Okay, fair enough. So they showcased 133 products during this live stream. They responded to live comments, they bantered with one another, and they were using Baidu's Ernie model to do this. They generated 100,000 characters of product descriptions on the fly. This stream attracted 13 million viewers, and it outperformed, this is the answer to your question, it outperformed Luao's own previous human-led stream in the first 26 minutes of the video. So in 26 minutes, they made more money than his human stream. They're calling this the first dual digital avatar stream, but it's not just a one-off stunt. China's live commerce industry, now worth nearly $1 trillion, already employs more than 100,000 digital humans, and the avatars reportedly slash labor costs by 80% and can increase conversion rates by over 60%. So Jeff, maybe we're getting a little bit closer to a fully AI episode of this podcast than we thought.
Makes me feel like I did not do a good job attempting to create a fully AI generated version of this podcast. If they're doing 30-minute live streams pulling in this kind of money, it's pretty impressive.
I know, we need to get some advice from this guy about how to do it, but did you watch the video?
I have not watched all the videos. Did you watch the video, the live stream?
I watched, a couple of minutes of it, but it was not even clear to me that it was a digital avatar. I mean, it was very, very convincing, and of course, I'm sure it's disclosed somewhere, but it was all in Chinese, so I couldn't tell what was going on, but, like, the people looked like the avatars looked like people, and they were interacting with each other like people, and they even seemed to have sort of, like, emotion and vibing off each other like people. I was, like, pretty impressed.
This is pretty crazy. It makes me just think, where is this? This reminds me of the UBS story we had, I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, where we were talking about turning analyst reports into short videos of the analysts themselves through a similar technology. In this question of like, we assume a human is better at certain things, relationships, selling, reading emotion, at least conveying, well, not reading emotion in this case, but conveying emotion. And is that really true? And where else will you see this? Like, I mean, that online salesperson easy, like, these live streams are kind of a unique China thing. I don't ever see this in the US where there's a live stream hawking products for just consistently every minute. But the idea of generating content from a real person that goes out and is useful in a sales or a marketing or an informational context, brand ambassadors, all sorts of influencers. It's a fascinating question of what's going to happen in that space. And I don't know what it will be, but I think a lot of companies could leverage this kind of technology to either replace or at least to scale in a much greater way what they're able to do in terms of creation of interesting video content.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I think, like, the telling the difference between human and AI is interesting. Like, when you uploaded your test run of this to LinkedIn, I could obviously tell it wasn't you because I know you really well and I've seen you in person a lot, but I don't know if the average person would have been able to tell that it wasn't really you. Like, it wasn't
I had a
so
couple people
clearly.
email me and go, "I think this was AI, right?" And, like, they clearly were not fully sure. It was definitely AI. I mean, you can see the Hey Gen logo when I use that to generate. But it's really interesting. I think there's this really interesting question that will come out, which is, when will we see the first fully AI avatars? Meaning this is an AI avatar that's mimicking a human who has, over time, built credibility as a person. But there's no reason that you can't create from whole cloth an AI avatar that you use that is based on whatever, that generates their own credibility over time, not tied to the UBS analyst that you've been reading reports from forever, or this guy who's been selling online for many years and very successfully. And therefore, I've allowed him to make it easier to record his videos without actually sitting there and doing it. But at the same time, could I create a whole cloth persona from nowhere and use that as my persona? That's a really interesting question and very different than what's being done here. And right now, I think there's a lot of gravitas or credibility that comes with the previously human credibility. You're kind of importing it into your avatar, but at some point we'll see avatars that have built their own credibility, and that'll be a really interesting shift.
Well, that happened with that, Australian DJ we talked about where everybody got all up in arms after 6 months of learning that their favorite radio host was actually an AI, and I thought
Not a
that
real
was pretty
radio host.
funny. Yeah, not a
Yeah.
real radio host. And he had never even purported himself to be human, but everyone was assumed he was human and then felt, boondoggled when they found out that he wasn't. So
Yeah. Oops.
Whoops.